It's that time of the year where we start to get an idea of what LEGO sets might be disappearing soon. I've looked through lists of hundreds of sets and narrowed it down to just over 50 made for adults that are at risk of retiring in 2026. We'll know more around mid-year or so, and this is not an official list, but based on patterns that I've seen over the years, I'll do my best to give you an idea of what has a good chance of retiring, so you can keep an eye out and start saving up. And for some of these, yeah, we're gonna need to save up as much as we can. Okay, let's kick off with some small sets under $100, and we'll speed through these, but there's some good stuff in here. This Piranha Plant from Super Mario is actually pretty cool. I built this last year along the Mario Kart display, and even though it's small, it has some memorable techniques and looked really good on display. Since it's been out for over a couple of years, this might actually retire this year. I wouldn't be surprised to see it stick around a bit longer though. Now, I was surprised to see Bumblebee from Transformers show up on the potentially retiring lists. I originally had this as a low risk for retiring, but I'm going to bump it up to a high risk. Even though Optimus Prime is still around, and we'll get to that in a minute, and Soundwave came out in 2025, I did a bit more research and saw that LEGO's Australia authorized reseller has it listed as retiring soon, so I would rather bump up the risk level than tell you otherwise. I do, however, think that the Star Wars helmets are going to disappear in 2026. These are cool if you're into this sort of thing. And I do think that this Star Destroyer has a very good chance of retiring, given that it'll be out for 3 years at this point. But these other two have been out for about a year now, so I think you're good to hold off on these. Moving on to Marvel, LEGO experimented with something new last year with these bust displays. And I have no idea how well these sold or not, but I wouldn't be surprised if they get pulled off the shelves sooner than later. Up next, this Harry Potter talking sorting hat popped up a little over 2 years ago and was a cool idea for diehard fans. It animates when you press down on it, and it even has a sound brick included to tell you what Hogwarts house you belong in. I do think we'll see this one make its way out. As always, we also have some smaller relaxing sets to chill out during the weekend. These can definitely be cool, and here are the notable ones that I found on the list. Some did pop up on the authorized seller site as retiring, so I'll keep them all at a high risk level. So if any of these catch your eye, it might not be a bad idea to snag one when you're out and about. For under $100, you'll want to keep an eye on some of the Star Wars stuff and maybe some botanicals if that's your thing. Otherwise, I would definitely recommend that Super Mario Piranha Plant for gamers. Nothing too crazy here overall though. Alright, moving up to the $100 to $200 tier, you'll see quite a few pop culture sets pop up for adults. I'll tell you right away, I definitely was not surprised to see Optimus Prime make the list. It's been around forever. I picked this up when my channel was much smaller, and it was one of the coolest LEGO experiences that I've had. It seriously doesn't feel like a LEGO set. I can't emphasize enough just how cool these are. They did a great job with the design, and it even has some accessories that are included. It's got the iconic look totally down. It's going to be entering its 4th year of being available, and I think it's finally going to see its last days. I can safely, highly recommend keeping this on your radar as the year goes on. As some of you know, I'm a huge gamer and I love the retro gaming stuff, so seeing this Mario and Yoshi display from one of my all-time favorite games, Super Mario World, had me super hyped. Not only did they nail the 16-bit Super Nintendo look, but it's got some interaction built in. I had this as a medium, as a gut feeling, but it did pop up with a retiring soon tag on the Australian reseller site. So I do have to bump it up to a high risk for now, and I really hope they make more of these from the old school Nintendo eras. In 2026, we're going to be hitting 2 years for this crazy looking aircraft from the Dune franchise. I do remember this being praised when it first came out, and I've got to say the design and functionality here is top-notch stuff. This just looks like a blast to build, and the minifigures included are pretty great. I had this as a medium, but it popped up with a retiring soon tag on their reseller site, so even though I'm a bit surprised that it'll be taken off the shelf this year, it is worth checking out. Okay, when I was looking through the list, I saw some notable architecture sets that might be on the chopping block. They don't come out very often, but I am seeing a good handful of architecture sets on the store, so they may need to make room for more. The Statue of Liberty, which came out before LEGO's official LEGO for Adults line, has been out for almost 8 years. So I think it might finally disappear, and as chill as those sets are, you can't get more chill than this Tranquil Garden, which most likely will see its departure in 2026. I do think that this classic Lamborghini is going to retire this year, so if you want this in your collection, it's a good time to look into it. Looking at a couple of retro Disney things, I don't think that the Nightmare Before Christmas set will retire this year, but again, we won't know until a bit later. It's got a cool design, and it's a good time to save up for something that you can display during not one, but 2 different holidays. And even though I loved The Lion King when I was younger, this Simba character model isn't really for me, but something that could be cool to have around the house if you or others in your family are a fan. Okay, so I am a huge Batman fan and have pretty much every LEGO Batmobile that you can find, but I don't have this one from the classic campy 1960s TV series. It's not like I don't like it, I actually think it's cool. I just haven't had the urge to pick it up, but I think I might need to take that urge a bit more seriously. I do have a gut feeling that it's got a really good chance of retiring in 2026, and to be honest, I'm pretty surprised to see how many reviews it has on LEGO's website, so maybe it's selling super well and they'll keep it around longer. I just had that feeling it's going to be gone soon, so I'll definitely keep an eye on it. Speaking of classic pop culture, it doesn't get much more classic than Jaws, and this diorama was an awesome addition to the lineup over a year ago. It's got some cool Easter eggs hidden within, and you can even put Jaws up for display. You know, when this came out, I remember there being a ton of hype, so I don't think we'll see it go away anytime soon. If you're interested, you should be okay, but it is on this list that I find online, so we'll see. We have a ton of iconic franchises in the high-risk section of this pricing tier, way more than I thought there would be, so it's a good time to see what you might want to pop on a shelf or dive into a nostalgic project over the course of a week or two. Okay, now we're getting into some sets that are a bit more pricey, and we'll need to seriously start saving up for some of these, especially if you want more than one. Modular building fans, you'll want to take notice of the Natural History Museum. When I originally ranked this along with the other modulars, I gave it a bronze medal, but it's much better than I thought in hindsight. The color scheme threw me off, but the more you look at this, it's such a cool building, and it's so different from everything else in a good way. In recent years, LEGO kept modular buildings up in their listings a bit longer than usual, but having 3 available now, they might make room for the next one in 2027. Then again, I feel like the last few have started a new design style, so let's put this at a medium risk for now. I wouldn't be surprised either way. Going further back in history, we had this amazing T-Rex fossil set come out last year. And I'm not kidding when I say this, it's one of the coolest things I've ever built. It's such a massive set, and it actually made me launch a second channel. And you know, I saw this show up on the potentially retiring list, and I have no idea why. It's been out for less than a year and it's crazy iconic. There's just no way it's retiring in 2026. I have a feeling we'll be able to buy it for at least a couple more years, but you know, I'm just calling it out just in case. Now, Star Wars ships at this scale are usually some of the most rewarding builds out there. This TIE Interceptor looks pretty solid, and there's nothing better than having a relic from the dark side on your shelf. It'll be approaching 2 years of being in the lineup, and like I was saying earlier, sometimes they gotta make room for more. So let's put this at a medium risk of potentially retiring. And you know, this price range always gives us some quality niche sets for those of us that like to dip our toes into iconic franchises or nostalgia. In this case, I think we're safe from having to rush to pick up the Burrow from Harry Potter, which is approaching 2 years later this year. The Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory set just came out in 2025, and as cool as it is, it seems like it might have a limited fan base. While the Beauty and the Beast Castle, another one that was a hit for its fan base, is in a similar boat. I would imagine that they'll be around for a while, so we'll see. The Mercedes F1 car will probably be around beyond 2026, given how popular Formula 1 is, and how long the original McLaren F1 car was available. But maybe this Mercedes off-roader does end up leaving to make some more room in the Technic side of things. I do love the color, and nothing says off-road like Mercedes. For all the space nerds out there like me, I'm putting this cool looking Artemis spaceship launch setup at a medium risk of disappearing within the year, but for all you history nerds out there, also like me, are probably safe from having to scrounge up our cash to rush out and get the endurance. I do see a lot of people mention this set in the comments from time to time, and maybe I'll finally tackle it someday. Okay, to me, this Pac-Man Arcade is pretty amazing. I mean, yeah, it doesn't get much more iconic than Pac-Man, but the way that the mechanisms come together are simply sublime. It's another one of those builds that completely wowed me. I built it early into my YouTube career before I did any reviews or dedicated builds, but I would definitely build it again. Unfortunately, I do have a feeling that it's got a high risk of retiring sometime soon. I really hope that's not the case with this great Deku tree from one of my favorite games of all time, The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. It even covers Breath of the Wild as a bonus. A handful of you have requested for me to build this on my other channel, and I just might have to this year. It's got a chance of retiring, but I also am on the fence about that being the case. Zelda is just crazy popular in the gaming space, and we just had another one added to the theme with the final battle from the same game, which has me very excited for what could be next. Okay, here's another set that was mind-boggling to see show up on the sets that could potentially retire this year. Not only did Arkham Asylum from Batman just come out a few months ago, but it's also a modular building set up in the DC universe, which is a first of its kind. I did a build review on this channel, and it's a cool experience for Batman and modular building fans, but I think you gotta be both. But there's just no way it's retiring soon, so I think you can hold out much longer if you need to save up. Modular building fans are probably going to want to pick up the Natural History Museum sooner than later, which is a great set along with that Pac-Man Arcade and its crazy mechanisms. Now, these are the ones where we'll want to really pay attention to because we're hitting the expensive sets that happen to also be some of the best out there. We've had a lot of new franchises hit LEGO for adults recently, which is awesome, and this Dungeons & Dragons set is absolutely fantastic. I don't think you even need to like the franchise to enjoy this. It's another set that I wish I had a build channel ready for at the time, so I might have to build it again at some point, but my experience with it was nothing but positive, and D&D isn't even my thing. I do know that it has tons of references that fans would love, and you can actually play through a custom game of D&D with this. Approaching 2 years on the shelves, maybe it'll retire this year. It's another one that I can see go either way. From Harry Potter, this Gringotts Bank definitely had a wow factor when I first saw it. I mean, check out how crazy this thing is. Not only are the buildings balancing above the cart tracks below, which visually looks nearly impossible, but it's got this crooked architecture design on the front of the building that's so different than anything we've seen. I've been wanting this for a while now, and with it being out for 3 years soon, I'm afraid it's got limited time. I think it's time to finally pick it up. You know, a lot of fans did not like this X-Men mansion when it came out, and I can see why. It does seem a bit cramped and some things definitely look a bit off, but I'm a sucker for 90s animated X-Men, so this is still high on my list of things to build. And you're gonna think I'm crazy, but I even bought the ridiculously overpriced blue X-Men jet last year just to get ready for this thing at some point. It did show up on the retailer site with a retiring soon tag, so yeah, maybe they'll shortcut this one to be taken off of the shelves sometime soon. From LEGO Ideas, this botanical garden is still relatively new and has a nice peaceful design to it. I think fans of modulars or buildings in general, and even if you're into relaxing sets like botanicals, you might get a kick out of this one. Surprisingly, this showed up on the authorized reseller as retiring soon, so take that as a potential heads up. It seems too soon for me personally, but they probably know more than I do. The River Steamboat might be safe for at least another year. It's barely a year old, but maybe it's too niche like the Botanical Garden. I think it's too hard to say for certain, but I do know that it's got a really good design and it includes some interactive elements that bring it up a notch. I'm going to keep it at a low risk for now, but it's still worth checking out even if it does not come with any minifigures, which I still think is a huge miss. And with these LEGO sets retiring, I'm telling you, you never know. I'm very surprised that the grand piano is still still around, but I do think it'll finally see its last days. I will never ever have enough space for this gigantic Eiffel Tower though. This thing has 10,000 pieces, which is just nuts. It would no doubt be a project you would remember forever, but you know, it might go away soon since it'll be hitting 4 years later this year. Just like this Ferrari, which has been around for about the same amount of time, and I definitely think that we'll see it make its way out. Okay, now of course you can't have LEGO without Star Wars, especially in the more expensive pricing tier. And Jabba's sail barge from the iconic Return of the Jedi did show up on the list. And you know, sometimes LEGO doesn't like to flood their catalog with too many Star Wars sets for adults, so it's a possibility. I did really like the scenes that they included with this one, and I mean, it's an iconic model for sure. Unfortunately, the complimentary Sarlacc pit set with the rest of the minifigures just retired at the end of 2025. So that's going to be very hard to find. And I know I'm also not a fan with how these sort of things can be handled sometimes, so I totally hear you. Moving on to another massive Star Wars set, you're going to need plenty of room for this giant Venator ship. You're going to have to also make sure that you save up if you really want it, because we're looking at a hefty price tag here. Especially given that it's going to hit 3 years on the shelves, we're looking at a higher risk, but I'll still keep it at medium for now. Given that it's well loved by many fans and probably sells pretty decently, we might have some more time. The iconic, massive Millennium Falcon, one of the most legendary LEGO sets ever made, needs no introduction, but get this. It's going to be out for 9 years in 2026. I bought this thing a long time ago before I even knew that I would be a LEGO YouTuber, and the box has made its way through a handful of moves. I'm going to definitely save it for something special one of these days. I'd have to clear out an entire month easily and make a ton of space. But will this be the year that we finally see it ride out into the sunset? I think so. Is it one of the best sets ever made? I mean, maybe. Is it something to save up for the rest of the year? I think so. I would imagine that we might get another one later down the road, but there's no guarantees, of course, and it could be a very long time. The sets in this tier are just so expensive, so if you want to snag them before they get hard to find, now is the time to start saving up. At least I can give you a little bit of a head start, and I know a lot of us only pick up 1 to 2 sets a year. I'll give you a better idea of what's definitely leaving later this year, and in the meantime, check out more LEGO for Adults content on the channel. As always, thank you for watching, and until next time, I will catch you in the next one.